Hi guys, Joni here. I just wanted to quickly interrupt with some ideas for when those times come when you're not knowing what to make or what to do with your art materials, or if you're just wanting some activities that you can do with your loved one. I just wanted to show some different resources that you can use. So of course, there's my YouTube channel, which some of you are already familiar with. There's over 50 different activities that you can make and do with your loved one that are all geared towards folks that have dementia of some sort. And there's also the resource called the Arts and Alzheimer's Handbook, which I'll put a link in the description that you can download for yourself. And there's lots of tools and ideas and other different projects that you can use in there as well. And that's just part of the legacy from the We Rage, We Weep Alzheimer Foundation, which was started by my colleague Marjorie Moulton. And it ran very successfully in our community here, and anything that you see there has been tested by other individuals, and there's lots of tips and information in there that you may find helpful. I'd also like to point out my colleague, Dr. Marjorie Moulton's work. She can be found at dementiaconsulting.ca or on Facebook. Just look for dementiaconsulting.ca. She's a woman that holds a lot of knowledge about Alzheimer's and dementia and what you can expect along this journey of dementia. She has a lot of knowledge about the different resources that are available to you and all about the idea of living well with dementia. And of course, there's the Alzheimer Foundation of America. And right now with COVID going on, they've really tapped into using this online platform as a resource. So I definitely recommend going on to there because they've got lots of different activities that you can do that include exercise and movement, as well as anything that's art related. So just definitely check them out, especially on their Facebook page. They're very engaging. So those are just 3 recommendations for any of you that might be wondering what to do with your loved one and with any of the art materials that you have. Okay, let's carry on with our video workshop. We're going to keep talking about different barriers that caregivers may face when wanting to use art in their caregiving.
So we'll move on to the next barrier, which says they aren't interested or they say that they don't want to. Yeah, so for cases like this, it can be beneficial to appeal to someone's sense of curiosity. So if you're making art, they might like looking over your shoulder, just watching what you're doing and being curious about what you're doing. Because often you'll find that wherever you are as a caregiver and whatever you're doing, there's a good chance that the person you're caring for will want to be in the same space as you. And they'll want to be engaged with you however they can be. So at first, being socially engaged, talking to them while you're making art, and then perhaps physically engaged. Maybe they can hold an item for you, or they can help you with their art, with your own art. I find that asking them to help you with your art can sometimes get them across that little threshold of getting into the making of the art. Because they may not be willing to make their own art, but they might be willing to help you with yours, because there's less pressure when they help you with yours. And so this kind of brings across the idea of co-creativity or co-creating. Because when you're making art together, I don't know, it evens the playing field. There's no us versus them, right?
Exactly. You're doing with them then, not for them. And again, that's to the point you made earlier, Joni, about autonomy and helping people maintain their abilities and their dignity for as long as possible. And a big part of that is not doing too much for them too soon.
Yeah, exactly. We're not results focused here. We're just hoping to accomplish one of those 5 goals that we mentioned earlier, right? So when you're creating together, what we're doing is removing barriers and encouraging them to participate with you, evening that playing field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're natural problem solvers, and sometimes we want to just jump in and do that, right? When really what we're trying to achieve is to validate the experience and the emotion behind it, rather than taking over and helping or problem solving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, what about the person who used to be an artist? Sometimes these folks are the hardest ones to convince to make art, because for them, making art was a huge part of their own identity, right? And we kind of have to take a step back and consider what might be going on for them. So if they remember being an artist and they're able to recognize that their art no longer looks like how it used to, that can probably feel very frustrating for them. They may worry that their art really isn't up to par and feel embarrassed by it. And they may be unable to verbalize what they are feeling about those things and that loss of identity. And so for people like this, I recommend trying a different medium. So for example, if the person used to be a painter, move away from the paint and try something like clay. Try to use something that they never really made art with before, because they will have a bar set for the things that they made with paint, but they won't have that bar set for the things that they can make with clay. You know, they don't have a standard that they're trying to live up to. And so for people who used to be artists, I think it's really important to keep encouraging them to stay creative throughout their experience with dementia. As we see here with these portraits by an artist named William Utermohlen, he was an artist who was able to continue painting and sketching throughout his life. And I think that these portraits just speak so well for themselves of what it was like to be in his shoes experiencing dementia. Yeah, it's very poignant.
Yeah, they're a very powerful series of portraits, and that shows you not only the evolution of the disease, but the evolution of his experience with it, that he was able again to maybe help process that experience through his creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when we look at that last sketch, is it finished or is it unfinished? You know, and to me it feels unfinished, yet at the same time we don't need more of it to understand the experience that he was communicating through that piece of art. So in that sense, that makes it finished, right?
Exactly, right? It's a little bit of both, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just gonna share a quote from the Alzheimer's Project. It says, "When I can no longer speak because of the Alzheimer's, I will have my art to speak for me." And that's from a lady named Daphne. That's from the Alzheimer's Project. And I think that quote kind of says it all for, you know, in relating to those portraits that we were just looking at. We don't necessarily need the words, but the art can do the speaking for us.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then I think this is our last barrier, the limited attention span and can't finish the project. Well, we've kind of been talking about this the whole time. Does it really matter if we can finish the project? Nope. Because we have 5 goals in mind. And if we can achieve any of those 5 goals, our art making was successful. So if we achieved any fine motor skills, muscle memory, visual acuity, social interaction, recalling memories, making positive new memories, or self-expression, we were successful.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So one final thought before we wrap up. We have this idea that everything we do or experience has to be spectacular or brilliant, when really it's about just living in the moment. So creativity is about the moment. And our lives are a series of moments, and some are happy and some are sad, but most are pretty mundane. And this is the case for all of us, and people with dementia are no different. So focusing on the moment allows for a full experience to take place, both emotionally and cognitively.
That is right.
So that's the end of part 1. We're going to take a little break And then we'll join you for part 2.
Yes. So be creative, be safe, and be healthy. And we'll see you on part 2. Thanks for joining us.